these guys started planning this 6 months ago, which is insanely close to today. And was so nervous and totally rocked it. Let me tell you a little bit about Ryan Harris. So one fun thing that you're going to get to know about all the speakers this conference is what their first job was. So Ryan, your first job.
Well, I had two. I think I'm on here. Good. I had two jobs. My mom is here. Mom, will you raise your hand? This is my beautiful mother. She taught me how to work, and my very first job was picking worms.
That is not what's on my paper.
I know. That's my actual first job.
Wow.
It was the worst job ever. But we really wanted to go to the lagoon, so that's how we got there.
Did you, like, hit the ground?
No, you put this disgusting stuff all over and they crawl up and you pick them up and it's
I also had that you delivered papers.
I did, yep.
Awesome. So let me tell you a little about Ryan. Ryan is the owner, the president of Strategic Social Partners who brought this conference to you today. So Ryan's past was spent in a lot of things: engineering, sales, project management, and then his curiosity took him into the social media world, exploring the idea of why you buy stuff, what influences your decisions, and how social media is that influencer. And thus, after lots of teaching and learning, you opened Strategic Social Partners. Yes? Yes, very good. I also want to, could you take a seat? Also get to introduce to you today, Jeremy Dresen. Jeremy, come up here. Let's hear it for Jeremy. Jeremy said I can say whatever I want about him. Yes. Okay, so sit down. I'm just kidding. Jeremy is actually one of the owners of Glacier Marketing. Very, very cool, very distinct voice. When you hear him speak, you will think, wait, is it 6 a.m.? Yes. So Jeremy is one of the partners and owners and president of Glacier Marketing, a marketing firm located in eastern Idaho. Jeremy started Glacier Marketing and has since managed the marketing campaigns and annual budgets of dozens of successful local and regional clients. Yes? Yes. Welcome, Jeremy. Let's hear it for Jeremy. All right, and David, come on up here. This happens to be Jeremy's brother, coming to us today from San Diego, California. Wow. He's kind of fancy, okay? So, Jeremy, your first job. How did we skip this? What was your first job?
McDonald's.
For 4 months.
4 months.
And what was your 2-day job before that?
A buddy of mine was moving pipe. He said, dude, you should come move pipe. Anyway, he said, come move pipe. So I did that, and on the second day I said, no, this is not for me. This is not for me. That was 2 days. McDonald's was 4 months. And again, no offense to anybody working at McDonald's, but for me that was not my forte either. But anyway, yeah.
Very good, very good. Now you know his first job. Okay, your brother, David, welcome to Idaho. I hope you stayed for a long time.
I will stay till tomorrow.
Okay, fine. That's not no, just kidding. Okay, so let me tell you about David. David is Global Creative Director at HP. Very cool. So a little bit about what he does. So David oversees all digital and creative design activities across the world with teams in San Diego, Vancouver, Singapore, and Shanghai. Your first job?
That was not my first job.
I know. What was your first job?
My first job was mowing lawns.
More than 4 months?
Yes, maybe 5. But it was great. It was great. Mowing lawns, I specifically remember, and I'll try to go quick. One of the lawns we mowed, this lady had this orchard, apple orchard. I probably ate a dozen apples while I was mowing the lawn, and then I was sick afterwards, but it was fun. So.
That is funny. All right, time's yours, guys.
Thank you.
Ryan, take it away.
Go ahead.
All right, well, let's start by doing this. Take out your cell phone right now, if it's not already. Take it out.
Be quick.
Be quick. Text 88588. That's the number. I want you to text it right now. The word I want you to put in the body of the text is glacier. We're going to give away some money. We're going to give away some money right now. 88588. Text the word Glacier. So again, that phone number, or the number, is 88588. In the body of the text, Glacier. Hit send. You're going to receive my M card, which is a mobile business card. You can download that, save it right to your phone. So now there's no excuse not to reach out. But more importantly, you are about to win $100 cash, and I'm not kidding. We put our money where our mouth is. Holly, who's our first winner? If your phone number pops up on this screen, come get your $100. I've got your cash right here. 915-9180.
Yeah!
Come on up. Come on up. She's our first winner. Who's our second winner? Let's do that again. $100 cash. I'm not playing.
This is all coming out of his pocket, by the way.
Yeah. 520-9400.
Right now.
Yeah. Oh my word.
You probably called that one. No, Brian.
Oh my word.
Brian's that lucky guy.
You're taking me golfing later. Who's our next one? 480-307-3600. Where are you at? Clear in the back. All the way to, it's like the price is right.
Yeah.
Come on down.
Come on down.
There we go. Let's do that again. We got a couple more. Everybody's silent, waiting in anticipation. What do we have? It's a 208 number, 419-8293.
Yeah.
8293. Yep, come on up. And let's go ahead and roll that last one, Holly. That's right. We do want to point
What
out.
was your number again?
Thank you. 208-520-7718 is our final.
Yeah.
Where you at? Is it yours? Come on up. Come on up.
Congratulations.
$100 cash. Don't spend it all in one place. There you go.
Unless it's with us.
Unless it's with us. That's right. If you think that's cool, by the way, how many actually got my M card? Did everybody get that okay? Everybody got it. You can save that to your phone. If you ever need anything like that for your business, I'll tell you, we didn't invent that technology. One of our partners did, and it's TextWire Technologies, who's really good at what they do. But let's talk about marketing. Why did you opt in? Why'd you do it?
Money, for the money.
Yeah, you wanted money. You wanted money. It was a compelling reason, right?
Good.
We're here in a great venue. You heard a great offer. You thought, you know what? I can't not do this. I don't want to miss out on my chance to win that money. That is great marketing. I'm not saying that was a great idea. I'm just saying if you take that concept and you implement it into any piece of marketing that you do, it really does boil down to three things. Is your message compelling? Is it the right message? Are you using the right platform? And inside that platform, are you using the right tactics? And people slaughter this all the time. We see it so much. I'm not saying that you do. I'm saying that we've seen it a lot. And so what we're going to do, I want to share just a couple of things about marketing quickly, and then I'm going to turn the time over to David where he can talk about your brand and your identity and the importance of
having that before you even go down the road of, hey, let me get this on social media, or let me post this on the internet, or let's go ahead and run radio and TV ads. There's a client that we had that was all over the board in terms of marketing. They would try this, they would try that, they would try that over there. I mean, it was just all over the place. And none of the messages were ever very consistent. So where we started with them specifically is before we even talked about what the game plan was going to be with their marketing dollars, we talked about their message. And we nailed it down really tight. And I'm not going to name their name because they're a current client. I don't want to embarrass them, or maybe they'd be proud of it. I don't know, but it's not my testimony to give. But at any rate, we fixed their messages. They've been with us for going on 11 years now. And over that time, in fact, Ryan's aware of who this client is. But over this time, we've slowly added in new elements, new platforms, and new tactics in those platforms, or mediums, if you will, running consistent campaigns across the board. and my word, their business hit an all-time high this last year with the marketing mix that is now in place. An all-time high. These guys are a 20-year-old business and somehow had an all-time high banner year after following some of the tactics and some of the things that we implemented. Anyway, marketing does work. Please, as you as business owners and business managers go down your profit and loss and you're trying to figure out where to save money, leave the marketing budget alone. You need it. Do not cut off the hand that feeds you. It doesn't make any sense. With that, I'm actually going to turn the time over to David where he can talk about more specifically your brand and your identity.
Thanks, Jeremy. I may sit and may stand part the time. I apologize for that. I had a knee replacement surgery about a month ago, so my giddy up is a little slow. Grateful to be here. We're excited to share some insights. It's been really fun sitting at the tables talking with different business owners, CEOs, gathering insights, getting feedback from them on areas of opportunity that we have. I want to share with you specifically some examples of what we've been able to do in Glacier. Jeremy just shared an example, so I'm going to go a little quick through some of these. But let's talk first about Lawn Tech. They came to us about 6.5 years ago. Their business was struggling. Not quite sure. They had a franchise name, but wasn't doing the sales they needed to do, right? So things were falling flat. They came to us, asked for help. So one of the first things we did is looked at what they were currently doing, looked at their customers, what their expectations were of their offering, and gave them an entire rebrand. And after the rebrand that we went through, their business started to take off. And I'll just cut to the chase. 2 months ago, they sold their business to another franchise because it was so lucrative. And so it talks to the power of marketing and design, and when you combine them together with solid insights and an understanding of your customer, you can change your business. TextWire, Jeremy already talked about TextWire. We just saw some of their technology. They're a client of ours as well. They had a rebrand that was done for them, but it was just the logo and a style guide. They hadn't done anything from there, so they came to us and asked us to implement it and provide a roadmap for how that brand might be implemented across the board at the various different touch points. So we looked at their brand, looked at the colorful nature of their brand and their clients and what kind of experience they were wanting to instill with their clients. When you think of texting, unless you're getting $100 bills, it's not something that you think is exciting, not a lot of fun. But we wanted their brand to be that way because their target audience was everyone from individuals to businesses to enterprises, right? There's a reason why texting does work, but we wanted to make sure that there was an emotional element and a delight to that experience. And so we leveraged the colorful palette that they had, emphasized some of those graphics and how that would play out into some more professional looking material. Infographics is an area of opportunity that they had where we really could play with their brand, with the playful nature of it. Even though it's getting information out there that is very important, when you look at infographics, it's a lot of content to digest. But when you make it fun and playful and delightful, it allows people to have a little more fun as they read through that. The rebrand was a success, and TextWire is doing phenomenally well. The next client I want to talk about is Town Square Dental. They also had a logo that was done, but that was it. They didn't know how to take it from there. So we again looked at the customer base. What were their expectations? What did the company want to achieve as a business? How did they want to be perceived? And the first thing we did is try to give them a professional, clean look in some of the marketing materials. Have a very clear message, call to action. And then after that, we wanted to push the envelope with their brand. And so as they started to target individuals and talk about dental work, which I don't know anybody in here that loves going to the dentist. And if Town Square is in here, I apologize. But we wanted to make it fun. So in some of the marketing materials, we truly wanted to be literally a tongue-in-cheek and kind of play off the words and play off some of the advertising. We did that for some animals. We took it across into some imagery as well for some of the other marketing materials we did. The point is the experience that the customers had with that marketing material changed their perception, and it drew them in. And so, again, it's all about what type of an experience are you creating with your customers. Let me pivot a little bit and talk about HP. I've been with an HP for 12 years, and we're in the print division. If you think of printing, printing is a declining market. All right, it is. It's you look at the millennials and the Gen Z and the future buyers, the money, the power behind business in the future. Most of them don't even know what printing is or want to print, for that matter. So we need to try to figure out how do we turn that and make a change. So we did a lot of research, a lot of investigation into who our target segments were, what were their habits, what were their behaviors, why did they not like printing, what was the stigma out there. And we found things like this. This is an actual Pinterest page of how to hide your printer. That's not something that we want to see, right? Now, truth being told, when you think of printers, it's usually a box. I can't share with you much of the future and the things that are in our back room, but if you've seen the latest printers over the last year, we're changing the way printing and printers look, right? We're changing the experience. We're putting printers, what we call, in the path of life. If you are spending a lot of time in your living room, you should be able to have a printer in your living room if you want. And that printer should look like it belongs in the living room, right? It's not going to be a big black box. It's going to be elegant. It's going to be streamlined. So those are some of the things that we've done based on that research. Designing products for the customer's experience and knowing exactly what they were expecting. So you just innovate something and throw it out the door, right? And then you're successful. That's not the case. So innovation is wonderful, but it doesn't solve all of our problems. You have to understand the market. You have to understand what the customer's expectations are. Can your business afford it? There's lots of different levers that need to be pulled around innovation. HP has a parking lot full of innovative ideas that just stay in the parking lot, never get out the door. So if it's not about innovation, then it must be about the experience. And that's partially correct. But today I want to talk to you about experience and why experience is so important for your customers. Why you need to make sure that your customers engage with you on not just a great level, but a delightful level. So if we look at Maslow's pyramid of needs, the top is the delighter level, right? You start with the basics. What do they need? Just something that works, something that functions. You go to your differentiators. How are you better than your customer? But above that is the delighter. That's where emotion comes into play, and that's where you make customers for life. Is if you can bring emotion into your customer's experience, they will be with you. As long as it's positive emotion, they'll be with you for a long time. All right? So at HP, we've kind of flipped the pyramid a little bit. We feel like delight should happen at every level. You shouldn't have to just focus on the first two and not have emotion. So we try very hard to make sure that emotion is brought into every single product at every single level. So how do you start to understand, how do you design for improving customers' experiences, right? You have to first understand who the user is and what are they expecting. What do they need? What problem do they have to solve? As you think about the user's experience, it is pretty vast, right? It's from research, online investigation. I want to buy this product. I want to get this, right? So they're going to do their work, their investigation. Then they maybe go to the store, read up about it, and then maybe go home and buy it, and then maybe they get it. Then you've got the out-of-box experience, you've got your support, the ongoing use, et cetera, et cetera. So the customer's experience is pretty vast. You need to make sure that you are aware of that customer's experience at all touch points. Are they having the experience that you want them to have at every single touch point? And if they're not, then you need to investigate how can you make it better. One misunderstanding, especially in the corporate world, is that the business's understanding of the ideal customer experience will not guarantee success. So that is true. But if you ask the VP of that business, he disagrees with you. And the reason I say it's not true, that this is true, is because most of the time, that VP of that business may not understand exactly what that customer's need is. In the corporate world, most of the time the VP just has solutions, brainstorms. They're VPs for a reason. They can have ideas, that's great. But a lot of times those ideas are not based on customer need. They're based on thoughts, impressions, maybe their expertise.
Hey,
So,
Dave, can I jump in here?
Oh, yes.
Is that all right?
Yeah.
Can we talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, you bet.
I think it's a super intriguing element to bring to light, because when you're talking about understanding that customer experience, how would we as business owners go about really defining? I know we worked very closely with you to do a redesign, rebrand of our company. Mm-hmm. And I think maybe some of the questions that some of the business owners here today might think, like, well, what does that even mean, and how do I best position it to create that customer experience that makes a unique blend of who we are, what we are, and how do we really authentically connect to create that experience? Maybe we can dialogue between the three of us about that.
No, that's great. Jeremy, you want to? No, go jump in. So obviously I mentioned understanding the customer is vital, right?
Yeah.
But beyond that, who do you want to be to the customer as a business? You look at your business and a lot of times there's emotion involved in us as business owners, right? Hey, I want my business to be this. I love this. And is what your emotional need what's right for the business? Mm-hmm. And sometimes they're two separate things. And you need to be aware enough to say, wait a minute, what I'm feeling is not really what's best for our business to grow and what we want to be.
Yeah. So I'm just curious, because I know when we went through this process with you guys, you asked a lot of really in-depth questions that quite frankly, I never even thought about it when it came to creating that real experience for the customers. Can you share with us some of the questions? Because I think, how many of you in this room, I'm just curious, how many of you in this room feel like I could probably use a redesign of our logo or things of that nature? Yeah, see, there's a few. So maybe the question that we could go into and dialogue about is, how do we go about that? What are some questions we should be asking ourselves, and see if those questions, and I'm diverting a little bit, but
no, that's okay.
How can we really understand if what we're sharing is meeting the need of that customer?
So,
tough question, I know, but
no.
Maybe some questions that we can go through.
So the first thing I would ask you is, who do you want to be as a business? Mm-hmm. Right? What is ties it into a mission statement or a vision statement, right? Who do you want to be? Right? What drives you as a business? What's going to, at the end of the day, put a smile on your face? And I'm not talking about money. I'm talking about, an emotional, result of your effort, right? That face is who you want to be to the customer, right? If that's who you truly want to be, then you need to make sure that your company says that in everything it does, in the way it looks, in the marketing materials that go out the door, mm-hmm. etc.
Yeah, it's interesting because you guys mentioned in the beginning of this, right, when the companies that you've worked for, they were literally had a different brand, the colors looked different, the color schemes, the tactics, the strategy, we were the same. Literally, when we started our business, we just went to Fiverr.com and said, hey, we'll pay you $5 to create a brand. That looks good, let's go.
Yeah.
Right? And I don't think when we begin the process, we really look at it and think about, like, well, really, what is it that we really want to share with our audience? How can we meet that need, right, that you're talking about? How can we meet that need on a deeper level so that when someone sees our logo or sees our brand, we feel confident enough to put it out there? Quite frankly, when we created content, I was like, well, I guess we'll put that logo there. Mm-hmm. I'm afraid for it to be there. But now I'm like, man, we got it everywhere, right? And it was such a cool iterative process. And I think that what you just said, and the other thing that, at least from a social media perspective, I think is super intriguing, and I'd love for you to dive in from a traditional media perspective. I found so many times on social media that it is totally disconnected. The number one thing in the world of marketing today is you have to create an authentic brand that relates with your target demographic, whether it's print media, whether it's traditional media. And I see this way too often, that you've got brilliant traditional media, but then when it comes to social media, and hopefully I'm not offending anyone here, but a lot of companies have a tendency to hire a 20-year-old out of college because they think they're technically savvy and they can do creative. And there's some really good technical designers that are 20 years old and whatnot. But they think, well, I'm just going to turn it over to them because I don't understand it. And what happens is that in the mind of consumers, their attention is so fixated on their mobile devices that they're really seeing your brand here and not paying attention to some of the other elements of traditional media, right? And so we have to be very cognizant that the message across all platforms is extremely cohesive and entangled together. And quite frankly, I'm going to confess here for a minute, and then I want you to jump in here. When Jeremy and I did our very first presentation together, I walked in, and it was at Brian's place. We walked in, and I was like, well, I'm going to teach this traditional media guy a thing or two about social media and how nobody needs to do traditional media anymore. Oh, man, was I wrong. I was totally wrong. You remember this?
I do.
Totally remember this? I'm sure he just sat there going, oh, brother, who is this Cracker Jack? Anyway, so we got talking, and I really opened my eyes. Chris talked earlier about being open, like being teachable. And I think understanding the dynamics of design and the proper implementation across all platforms is extremely important. Maybe you can talk to traditional a little bit there.
Yeah, I'll just ask anybody in this room if they have ever heard of the silver tsunami before. Do you even know what that is? What is it? That's right. So many businesses attack the 2554 demo because they think that's where the money is. Statistically, that couldn't be more wrong. Mm-hmm. More people, 54 plus, have, I think the stat was 50% of this country's money. 50%. And everybody's fixated with 2554. Why? Well, because that happens to be a demographic that your local radio or TV station happens to have numbers for. So, well, I'm going after 2554. I don't think you really know why, to be honest. I think that people don't know why they say 20. Well, it's either 1835 or it's 2554. So I'll go with 2554. No. So I'm taking us down a different road, and so I'll get back on track here. But we've seen, and I mentioned this a little bit earlier. We've seen clients that have done exactly what Ryan said. Hey, we've got Sally that's working here at the front desk. Yes, she's answering the phone, but we need somebody to be point on marketing. Sally, you're marketing. Mm-hmm. What does Sally know about marketing? I don't know, but she can pick up a phone and call a radio rep and say, hey, put a schedule together for me. Why don't you write some ad copy? So what do? They slam out a piece of 30-second or 60-second ad, and the client says, yeah, looks good to me, and they're throwing it on the radio. Does that even talk to your brand? Or is it in conjunction with the identity of the company or what you might be saying or how you're saying on Facebook or the website or search engine marketing or search engine marketing? I said that wrong. Search engine optimization and search engine marketing. Anyway, yeah, you got to have it's got to be a tied message through all of your mediums. Mm-hmm. And back to David's original point, if it doesn't start with your brand and your identity, I don't know where it starts. Yeah. If it doesn't start there, I don't know where it starts. Because it can't start with a good piece of 60-second radio copy and then, hey, give this to a designer and hopefully they can design something that mirrors what that's backwards. It's got to start here, and then it kind of flows this way. And no offense to social media has a place in marketing. Don't Absolutely. Get me wrong. Yeah. It does. It's legit. The client that I was referencing earlier, 25% of their budget is spent on social media. 25%. Yep. And that's their sweet spot. Here's my philosophy on social media. And again, we're all over the place with this thing, but here's my philosophy. I compare marketing to making a good cupcake. I'm a fat guy, I like food, okay? So a good cupcake is the best when what? When it's got some frosting on top. Yeah. You know what frosting is for me when it comes to marketing? It's what this guy and his team offer. Yeah, that's right. That's the frosting. That's right. If you try, candy, right? That's right. Well, it's what makes it good at the end of the day. It's like, man, I've got this great batter with all the right ingredients, and I've done everything right. And what could make this taste even better? What could really drive this home? Yeah. Frosting. Yeah. Now, if you were to take that frosting and mix it into the batter, and then, well, that's even better, right? That's a good marketing mix. No, but seriously, if we're actually talking cooking in the kitchen, and you pull out another ingredient and replace it with frosting, I can tell you right now that cupcake is not going to work out. Yeah. It's not going to work out. So again, I think all mediums have a place. Absolutely. I think there is a very specific and definitive order in how you establish your brand and how you execute your marketing. And unfortunately, more often than not, with local businesses, it is all over the place and in no particular order.
Well, and I would attest to that because we've had, with the experience that we had, we were all over the place. We had no idea really what we were doing. As a social media marketing agency, we collectively ourselves were kind of like, well, maybe we should do this and maybe we should do that. And we put together marketing plans from a social media perspective all the time. But the traditional is totally different than, in the branding context. And it was such an element of refreshing conversation when we really dove into the actual, really, what do we want here? Like, what do we want to put together from a marketing strategy? How do we build our brand so that we're, A, comfortable with it, so we can put it on marketing material and be okay with that, but B, how does that really make that authentic connection with the audience or with our target demographic? And I think, going back to your point, and I'd love for you to talk more about this, as a business owner, again, I've been through that. Like, I've gone through the process of, does my brand really make a connection with who I'm trying to get in front of? Or is it just a pretty design?
Yeah. To come full circle, again, the word experience comes into mind, right? What is the experience you want your customers to have when they interact with your brand? And that is vital, right? It doesn't matter what type of business you own. You have to have in your mind a clear understanding and goal and objective of the experience you want them to have. Mm-hmm. Now, will that experience be bad sometimes? Sure, right? Not every business is perfect out of the gate, right? There's going to be some hiccups. But that being said, even if there are bumps in the road, what is the experience after the bump in the road? Mm-hmm. You can bring that customer back, right? Whether it's customer support or whatever it is, you can make that a better experience. Even though, for example, HP Print, right? We have a lot of people call customer support. What is their experience with customer support? They may have had a hiccup with the printer, but when they call us, is it quick and easy? And then can we quickly get them back doing what they need to do, right? We don't want them on the phone with us. We want them to get their job printed and go. Mm-hmm. So, that customer experience is vital.
Yeah. So maybe let's talk, and hopefully I'm not shifting too far away, but how do we create that collective customer experience through marketing? Traditional, graphic design, social media. Maybe we can try to answer that question.
I would suggest that, again, it starts with your brand and your identity. If you don't know who you are, that's where it starts. And if that's not in place, and in place professionally, with purpose, then that's where it starts. Not just, hey, I found a company online that could crank out a logo in 15 minutes, and here's my business.
Yeah.
And again, you've got to separate your emotional tie to your business or things that you like, right? And I'm about to say something, no offense to anybody out here, but it's not good to say, I want a logo with my dog and my motorcycle because those are my favorite things, right? You don't want to do that, right? What is that going to say to your customers when they see they might like bikes and dogs. That might be great.
If that's your target demographic,
sure.
Maybe that's it, right?
Yeah. But the point is, your logo has to represent you on a professional level, no matter what. And every other material and touch point that goes out the door has to represent you on a professional level. So try to separate yourself and those emotions. And it's hard. I get it. You've invested a lot of time and money into building this company, right? It is emotional to you. But you've got to learn to separate that and let the professionals do what they do, right? Let them investigate who your customer is. Let them take that insight and tie it into your business objective and then come up with a plan and say, here's what we recommend and here's why.
Yeah. It's interesting when we have the opportunity to go through quite a few assessments, if you will, with our clients. One thing we've learned is we like to ask questions, especially to figure out who the target demographic actually is. And one of my favorite questions to ask, which I don't know if many people ever hear it being asked, is, what are the types of books that they like to read? Well, I always get the question, well, what do you mean? Well, what are the types of books that your potential target demographic likes to read? And they always ask me, well, why do you want to know that? Well, then, if you know that, then you can dialogue and you can look into the types of books, the magazines, the articles they're reading, and get a good idea from a language perspective what their core fundamental needs are. It's interesting. I've been reading a book recently called The Brand Story by Donald Miller. It's Building a Story Brand. A phenomenal book. Have you read that one? It's phenomenal. In the context of that book, it talks about when it comes to identifying your target demographic, understanding the difference between the external needs, the internal needs, and the philosophical needs. And he made a statement in there that I thought was super profound. He said, businesses all too often sell solutions to external needs when consumers are constantly trying to find solutions to internal needs. I'm going to say that again because I thought that was really cool, and we've really shifted our whole company because of it. Businesses often try to sell solutions to external needs when consumers are trying to find solutions to internal needs. And I think as we define the difference between an external and internal need, it really locks us down on our brand, and then it builds in the rest of the marketing. We've seen that with a couple different clients. I know Nolan. Where's Nolan at? He's here. We've had dialogue for the last few weeks, and it's been a whole paradigm shift collectively to say where we came from to where we are today, and now the message is resonating with his target demographic. And just answering those questions. So maybe you and your business are thinking, well, I don't know. Is the solution I'm selling, am I selling it based on the language, based on the branding? Is it to an external problem, or is it to an internal problem? I mean, I think you can keep, once you identify that, and then really look at your brand and your logo and the branding itself and say, am I really connecting with that? Maybe you can just take a step back and say, oh, maybe I'm not. Maybe my logo really doesn't match what we're looking for, the brochure, the content that we're creating. And it's an evolution, right? It's a constant evolution to figure that out. What would you guys add to that, if anything?
Well, again, I think it goes back to the original topic, which for me is understanding who you are, and I guess I'll pass it off to David really, but who you really are as a business. What do you plan to accomplish? What are your goals? And to separate, like what David said is, I mean, I'm not just fluffing him up because he's my partner, but what he said is money. I mean, people get so personally connected to the business that they don't stop and look at it objectively from a business standpoint. Forget about who you are as a person. I mean, as an entity, what do you want that business to be, and what does it need to mean to other people? We have 5 minutes. Okay. For the record, we started 5 minutes late.
I think I know.
Anyway,
I think that's good. You don't have to have a business that caters to every single target customer. Understand that. Mm-hmm. Your business does not have to appeal to every single segmentation that's out there. Know who is your sweet spot. Know who buys your product. Know who invests in your company and target them. Ignore everybody else. Don't worry about it. You may make changes later on, and that's fine, but that's the importance of understanding your customer, because then you start to understand what that experience expectation is from them, and you can go all in on that customer. Yeah. If you're HP tries to appeal to everybody, right? We're a massive company, and we literally deliver products and solutions to every single demographic. And so for us, we do have to kind of shotgun approach it, but I don't mean it that badly. I mean, we obviously dive directly into our users, and whatever product solution goes to that target segment, we refine it for them. Mm-hmm. But the point is, it's not it doesn't have to be the kitchen sink. You can define, hey, these guys get a faucet, and that's it. Nobody else gets anything else. So, yeah.
Let me ask this, just because I know we are short. First of all, quick disclaimer for any media reps that are out there. I'm not dogging you. I'm not dogging media reps. They're good at what they do. All I'm saying is it doesn't hurt to consult with a company, a business. It doesn't have to be Glacier, but somebody who understands your brand, your identity, and how to write some good copy that will speak to the story that you're trying to tell. But anyway, if you were to have an elevator pitch for the rest of your presentation, just because we are short on time, what would that be? I mean, what information do you want everybody to walk out of here with?
It would be this here. Investing in design is a return on investment. And I'm not just talking about design. I'm talking about design and designing the perfect customer experience, right? Mm-hmm. So it's design and marketing both. But This, and I can dive into this further if anybody wants to talk to me after this, but the Design Value Index was created a couple years ago. 228% growth over other standard S&P 500 companies. Those who invested in design and improving the customer's experience grew 228% more. Do you want to grow more than your competitor? If you do, take design seriously and understand the impact that the appropriate design solution can have on your bottom line.
Well, and I just want to reiterate, the experience that we've had collectively. One of the reasons I wanted to have you guys here is because of the experience that we've had. Right? We now feel comfortable and confident in what we're doing. And I mean, it was something that I never anticipated, but once we had that 7th round or the 8th round of design, it's like, no, we got to do this or this. And once we finally nailed that home, it was like, that's it. Now we can run with it. And so I would encourage, each of you as a business owner, really reflect on that. Where are you from a design perspective? Because it really does build the marketing. It builds the continuity in the message, whether it's traditional, whether it's digital. I know we've got a lot of digital agencies here. Whether it's social, whatever that looks like, the more continuity in the message, the more continuity in the design will create an experience for your customer that will change the nature of your business dramatically. I think we can end with that.
Yep. This is the design process.
Yeah.
It is very, very divergent at the start. A lot of iterations. So you talked about 7 rounds, 8 rounds of reference, right, on the design solution for the branding. But you do that so you can hone in on exactly what your message needs to be. And then from there, you've got a very strong, consistent message to take to your customers.
All right. Thanks, guys.